Hello there, Alaskans, wherever you are. Welcome to the Must Read Alaska Show. Coming to you from somewhere in Alaska. This is the place where we talk about, you guessed it, Alaska. Where we keep the mainstream media on their toes and where we are standing up for what's right in a world run by leftists. You can find out more by heading over to mustreadalaska.com and also checking out the Must Read Alaska YouTube channel for some really great content. But first, let's get this party started.
Well, welcome everybody to the Must Read Alaska Show. I'm your host, John Quick, coming to you live from somewhere in Alaska, and I got a huge light behind me, so I'll put my head right where the light is. So excited to have everybody with us today. And for those of you that are listening, watching, or reading Must Read Alaska, and you want to help the cause, go to mustreadalaska.com. There's a right-hand side there. You can click the donate button. Every $5 helps. Every $10 helps. Every $20 helps. We really exist off of donations. We do have some ads and stuff, but we primarily exist off of small donations that folks, mostly from Alaska, but also all around the U.S., give every month. And we are very appreciative to every dollar, every penny that folks donate. And if you like the Must Read Alaska show, you can check us out on Pandora, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Spotify, iTunes, Samsung Podcast, the list goes on and on. Give us a 5-star review. We just got accepted into the Samsung Podcast world, which is very exciting for us. A big company launched a new podcast platform, primarily kind of within their TV framework, and they accepted a handful of top-tier podcasts from all around the globe, and we were lucky enough to be accepted. And so we're very excited about that. We got accepted along with, podcasts that got multi-million-dollar budgets. So we do have a special guest today, which is very exciting. Representative Sarah Vance, who is kicking butt down in Homer. She is somebody who has campaigned on one thing and done one thing, and that's told the truth and stuck to what she's going to say, and stuck to what she has promised and talked about, which I think is tough in the political world. A lot of folks promise the hills and then, kind of shy away from hard conversations once they figure out they can't accomplish what they want to accomplish. And Sarah's been somebody, Representative Vance has been somebody who, for folks on the Kenai Peninsula, really appreciate the fact that she does exactly what she says she's going to do, which is very exciting for us on the peninsula to have a politician, elected official like that. She is not my representative, but she is one of my favorite representatives. So Sarah Vance, Representative Vance, welcome to the Must Read Alaska show.
Good morning, John. It's good to be here.
So for folks that have maybe, this is the first time hearing about you, maybe they're up in Barrow, or maybe they're listening from South Dakota or even Europe. We have a big following in Europe. Tell folks about who you are and where your district is, and maybe what first brought you to running for the Alaska State House.
Well, I'm a representative of the Lower Kenai Peninsula, and in one of the most beautiful places on earth. In fact, Homer is my hometown. I grew up here and lived just around the corner from where I grew up, raising my 4 children with my husband, Jeff. And Homer is headed one of the best places to go before you die. However, there are many people who are choosing to live a vibrant life here, and we have one of the growing populations in the state. So check us out, homeralaska.org. Although my district does run all the way up to Kasilof, and now District 6 includes across Kachemak Bay to the communities of Halibut Cove and Soldovia. So we did have a little bit of a border shift, nothing too great, but we are a big fishing community, tourism, and just a lot of people who grew up here in the community trying to make a living.
So you've, if my math is correct, you've done 2 terms, you're running for a third. So 2 questions for you. How is the election coming, and kind of what made you decide to run for that next term? I know some people are like 1 and done or 2 and done, or some people are like they want to do 15 terms. What made you run for that third one, and how's the election coming?
Well, the election's going well. It's nice to finally feel like the training wheels in political life have come off. It's when you get in, you are drinking from the fire hose because there's so many issues and so many things that you really complex that affect different people across the state. So, I jumped in and was learning hard, but now people know me and have that trust that they know that I'm going to do what I said I would do. So that part of the campaign is going easy, but I still have to show people in Homer that I care about the things that they care about. I care about the environment. I'm going to protect Kachemak Bay. I care about their children and the future. And that's something that I just need to really reveal who I am as a mom and as a girl who grew up in Homer, that those are the things that have always been present, but just simply talking about them more. And that goes back to the reason that I first got in political life in the first place was because of something that was happening in my community that I said, this just isn't the way that I want it to go. And in that process, people with tears in their eyes said, please do not stop speaking for us. Well, I served 2 terms in the House minority and worked hard and stood upon the principles, but there's clearly more work to be done. And so that's why I'm running for another term.
So do you think it's possible, which I think I know your answer to this, but do you think it's possible to be a conservative and still care about the environment, be a conservationist? I think a lot of times, if you read the news, the mainstream news, they would tell you it's impossible to be a conservative and care about, keeping Kachemak Bay safe and enjoyable for generations to come. Tell me about your philosophies and ideas behind that.
Well, obviously, that's just simply not true because we can do both. And in fact, the principles that I grew up on said that I need to be a good steward of the earth and be responsible for everything that's in my care. And that includes the home that I live in. And I was asking my children as I was trying to create some radio ads of why do I care about cleaning up our district and the environment? And my 12-year-old she didn't even hesitate. She said, because that's where we live. And so it's a definite connection that we have to be responsible for where we live. And that means finding that right balance. Responsible resource management is possible when you make sure that you are not taking too much and that you're being considerate of your neighbor. And that principle goes as deep as you want it to go.
I like that. So the primary just happened. Tell folks about kind of how that winded up. Did you come out on top? How many points are your head? Are you guys feeling confident? How can, if somebody wants to get involved in your campaign, how do they get in touch with you and what could they do? Are people making phone calls? Do you need help door knocking? Tell us about that.
Well, I won. I say obviously, it's not obvious to everyone. I won more than 50% in the primary, which technically in this jungle primary, no one actually had to win because the top 4 will be advancing to the general. But it does help when you get the most votes. It builds voter confidence. And that's what I wanted going into this general election. So on election day, I won almost 55%. And then after all of the early and absentee votes came in, I was at close to 52%. And I will continue to work and build on that. I never take for granted an opponent because it's a matter of continuing to stay in front of the people. So the areas that I could use help is just getting yard signs out, making phone calls. And if someone wants to go door knocking with me in the Homer area, I would greatly appreciate that.
That's awesome. I think sometimes just the old school method of knocking on folks' doors and hearing what they have to say is always a tried and true method for folks. So hopefully people take you up on that. So recently I saw on social media that you did this kind of I don't know if it's an award ceremony, but it was a way to honor a trooper that had been shot in the line of duty. Tell folks about that story and what led you to doing kind of that ceremony.
Well, 1 year ago on August 23rd in Anchor Point, Trooper Brueggemann was shot in the line of duty and wounded. And luckily, it was not a life-threatening situation, but obviously it could have been. And Sergeant Cox, who is stationed in Anchor Point and has been for quite some time, was there to be his aide. And also someone who works at the warehouse grocery where the incident happened helped wrap his tourniquet, is how the rumor goes. And so I wanted to highlight public safety, but honor the troopers that serve in our community, because many times they do it alone. And had been talking with Department of Public Safety all summer about being able to present to him a legislative citation that we had passed in the legislature for him. And I spoke with the Anchor Point VFW and the Chamber of Commerce, and they were very excited to be a part of it. So we just co-hosted, kind of a barbecue there at the VFW, and invited the Department of Public Safety and Trooper Bruggeman and his wife to come. And it was a fantastic turnout. And Commissioner Cockrell of Department of Public Safety even drove down from Anchorage, and Sergeant Maurice Hughes from Soldotna and his crew came in the trooper helicopter and landed in the backyard of the VFW. So they really spoiled us. They brought a K-9 unit and really made a big splash in Anchor Point. But it was just really heartwarming that Trooper Bruggeman said that he was treated so well by the community and by the Department of Public Safety here in Alaska that he believes if this had happened in his previous unit, he would not have received the level of care and attention that he's received here in Alaska. So I think that's a testimony to our troopers and the incredible work that they do, and Commissioner Cockrell and the support, but also our loving communities that want to be there for our law enforcement officers.
Amen to that. These guys and gals are epic, and I went on a ride along once in the Seattle area, and these folks see, in our lifetime we'll have, if we're lucky, only one bad thing maybe happen to us. Maybe our house gets broken into, or our car gets broken into, or we see a carjacking. If we see one of those, or one of those things happens to us, we're pretty lucky. These guys and girls see this 10 times a day on their shift. Right. It's like they see the worst of the worst every day for their 12-hour shift. And man, my heart goes out to them. I really like that you were able to honor that officer in that way. And it's so cool that Officer Hughes came down. He's like a living legend for the officer folks. He's like, I think his territory covers like Ketchikan to Soldotna. So he's got a big job. So it's good to see that not only the community came out, but the organization in which you were honoring somebody saw that as a opportunity, and it was a big deal for folks, just also to raise awareness that these guys and gals put their lives on the line every single day. Literally, not figuratively, they literally put their lives on the line for us to herd the part of the population who doesn't give a crap about any laws. And so way to do that, Representative Vance. I think it's an important thing that we honor those folks that do this on a day in, day out basis, where we, get to sit in our cushy little houses and not have to worry about folks that they have to worry about every day. So what are a couple of the bills that maybe you are excited about that you're going to work on this year, that maybe you've been working on, or something new you're going to tackle that you're excited about? I know that the House has been in the minority for I think the 2 cycles that you've been in there, which for folks that are listening and they're like, what does that mean? It basically means that it's very hard to get something done if you're in the minority, especially the way the House has been organized. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you can't be working on, bills waiting for your time that you get back in the majority. So is there something you've been working on that you're excited about to keep working on, or something new you're going to work on?
Well, there are 2 bills that you are familiar with that are a top priority, and one of them is election reform. I worked heavily on that with Senator Schauer and 2 House Democrats, that we came to a compromise on. Just there's so much clarity that needs to happen in our Alaska statutes when it comes to elections, that we found a lot of work that we could find agreements on between the Republicans and Democrats. And that bill was so close to the finish line on the last day of session, and it died in the Senate. So we are going to be bringing that forward again. But Alaskans at this process have told me, when can you get rid of ranked choice voting? Please go back to one person, one vote, like the way we've been voting in our country for more than 250 years. They are just so frustrated about this new voting system. So come February will be the 2-year mark that the legislature can begin looking at repealing that portion of the ballot measure and get back to a simpler, clarified method.
Oh, thank you, Jesus. Amen. Get some church service up in here, because if you all do that, right? I think you're going to make so many folks happy. I mean, I've talked to both people on both sides, Democrats, right, Republicans, libertarians, who are like realizing, holy crap, I'm never going to be on the ballot again. Chris By got lucky this time and will be on the ballot because Tara Sweeney dropped out. But I think these third party folks are realizing that all the Democrats and Republicans have to do is stack the deck, and they will never be on another ballot ever again in the history of Alaska elections, which I think is sad. I think it's important to have third party candidates on the ballot.
Well, and letting everyone really have the confidence that their vote's going to count. And what we found, there's a ranked choice voting expert, if you will, who has been looking at this across the nation, and it disenfranchises at least 25% of the population because it's just, you have to read every detail. You have to understand before you go in. So one thing that I'm telling people is that you can take a sample ballot into the ballot box with you. You just put it in your pocket or your purse, and you can take your personal script in so that you don't have that voter anxiety. We all get it. We go to the ballot box and we're trying to get in and get out and not take too long and be respectful of everyone around us because it's election day, and you get in and you forget to turn over the page, right? Or you forget that down ballot person in the bottom right-hand corner, which is mine. Don't forget that one. And so I want to build that voter confidence again of that simple process. And that is going to be my number one priority, simply because Alaskans have asked us to. They feel like they were tricked into voting for that ballot measure without being told that it would completely reform the way we do our elections. And to me, that is just completely dishonest. So that's a top priority. The other bill is one that we discussed here on the show before, and that's my No Patient Left Alone Act. Through the past several years, we have seen too many Alaskans dying alone or going into surgery without their loved one being there, just to give them that peace that they're going to be okay. Or maybe you have an elder in a senior home who's been isolated and they're not allowed to see their loved one or be there when they're making pretty big decisions for their medical health. My bill would allow every individual to have a support person of their choice at their side when they are in a hospital, a medical facility, senior home, whatever it is, that they would be able to have that person there during their most vulnerable times.
I love that because, I've even had conversations with folks about this particular bill, and it's so interesting how quick people forget what happened to us just 6 months ago for a year and a half. The biggest hospitals in Alaska, I'll just speak to Alaska, not around the world. The biggest hospitals in Alaska forbid loved ones. I'm talking, husbands, wives, kids, from being with their other loved ones, being with their husbands or their wife or their kids while they were dying, regardless if that person had COVID or not, because of COVID. And so, I'm preaching to the choir here to you, Sarah, but I'm preaching to the choir of the folks that are listening, that this literally happened in Alaska. Hospitals forced people to die alone for the sake of safety and control. And for those of you that are like, no, this didn't happen, just I'll pin to the top of the page the story of the guy sitting outside one of the biggest hospitals. I won't say their name, one of the biggest hospitals in Alaska, sitting literally outside of the hospital, like camping in a public easement, because his daughter was sick. And I don't remember what she had, but I don't think it was
minor daughter.
Yeah, his minor daughter was sick, and I don't remember the circumstances around what she had or anything like that. But I remember that the hospital would not let this father in to see his daughter, and he just camped out there for days and days, and I believe weeks and weeks. And Suzanne got involved, and other folks got involved. Bernadette Wilson got involved. Jamie Allard got involved. And the hospital eventually let him see her for 20 minutes, something stupid. But he was one of maybe, he was an exception to the rule. The hospital, these hospitals, 9 times out of 10 during COVID, for your safety, let family and friends die alone. And I just think that is the dumbest, stupidest thing that Alaska was doing during COVID. And it goes across, Democrat, Republicans lines. It's something that affected all of us. And we should all be up in arms that these profit hungry hospitals cared more about, the being looking like they cared about safety, as opposed to letting loved ones be with loved ones while they die. So I applaud you for doing that, Bill. I think that it is much needed, because they will do this again. I mean, there's going to be another COVID, whatever you want to call it, and they're going to do this, but even further. They're going to try to go just a little bit further next time, and a bill like this will help them stop that. So I think this is awesome.
Well, John, what a lot of people don't realize is that the hospitals in Alaska are still doing this. A dear friend of mine last month had their sister-in-law die in a Matsu hospital alone. And they said it was barbaric how she was treated, that she did not die with dignity. In fact, their aged family cat died that same week. And in tears in their eyes, they said, our cat died with more dignity than our sister did. And that is unconscionable here in Alaska. So don't feel that this is just a matter of the pandemic issue. This is still going on in our hospitals in Alaska. And that's why the bill is still needed. My bill does not use the word COVID-19 for anything, because I don't want it to be focused about COVID. This is about hospital policy and not just hospitals, all medical facilities, and how we treat our loved ones with human dignity.
I love it. If you find yourself in a situation where you're in a hospital in Alaska and they're not letting you in to see a loved one that's sick or dying, use this tool. This is a phone. And we still live in Alaska is still a small enough town where these hospitals fear bad PR more than they fear shutting down one person, because they believe you won't do anything. They believe you'll shut up and do exactly as they say. Put their butts on Facebook Live and put the camera in their face. That would be my advice to you. Up until Representative Vance passes her bill, then you don't have anything to worry about. But if you find yourself in a situation where the hospital is bullying you to not go see your dying wife, stick the phone in their face and go on Facebook Live and ask them to repeat what they just said. And you'll see how quickly they will change their tune. So moving on to a different subject, I think that's awesome. Those two bills are very, very important. One of my last questions to you is this, Representative Vance. Do you think the House has it in them this year to be organized as a Republican House?
I do. We have a lot of momentum going on right now. And, when you're the minority for several years, you learn a lot of lessons, and you learn how to play nice in the sandbox. Working together as a team is vital, and being able to be respectful of each other and how you need to represent your district is something that I think we've learned along the way to make room for each other. And how to govern, that is going to be the big test, is how are we going to govern and still not kowtow to the binding caucus, but make room and be responsible legislators that Alaskans are asking us to be. And I'm really proud of our team and just the cohesiveness that we have. We communicate with each other on a regular basis because we actually like each other. We go fishing together and go to lunch and just hang out together. And when people to do business with people they like. And I think that will make our job of governing a lot easier, because we can work out the differences in a positive way and still be able to get up and get the job done. Yeah,
it's almost, for the political insider folks, the last couple cycles of House speakers have been a bit of a mess. And I think we're hopeful. It's nothing personal against the folks that have been the Speaker of the House. It's just been a mess. And I think the folks that are leading conservative, are excited about the potential opportunity to have Republicans be organized and to actually have a Republican as the Speaker of the House. The papers, the mainstream media has said, well, you've had a Republican Speaker of the House. Why do you guys care so much about having? And I think folks that are the, day in and day out, they live and breathe political stuff. They're excited for an actual Republican to be the Speaker of the House. So I'm excited that you think that there's a possibility that the Republicans are going to get organized, and I will take that as a win. So, last question to you, this Representative Vance, tell folks how they can get a hold of your campaign. What's your website? If somebody wants to donate, what's a good email or phone number, or how does somebody get a hold of you on Facebook? Tell us all about the channels that folks can get in touch with your campaign, as you will be campaigning until the election, my guess, is November 8th. So you need help between now and November 8th. Absolutely. And every little bit helps, just like you said, even $5, $10, $50, whatever you can give is so beneficial. And I really stretch my dollars. So you can go to sarahvance.org to be able to find a link right there on the face on that first page to be able to make an online donation. And really, if you want to stay up to date with what I'm doing, you can find me on Facebook at Vote Sarah Vance, and I'm on several other social media pages, but I try to keep people up to date on what I'm doing. And then I'm still working as a legislator. So I have a lot of legislative business on my Rep Sarah Vance Facebook and social media pages, just to keep people engaged into the process. And one of the things that I posted on my Vote Sarah Vance page is that today the Division of Elections is going to do the tabulation at 4 p.m. So pop your popcorn. It's going to be an interesting day. Yeah, we'll have Must Read Alaska. We'll have that live feed on our Facebook. So for folks interested, tune in at 4 o'clock. You can either go to the Division of Elections Facebook, or you can go to our Facebook, and we'll have that. My guess is it's going to go very quick, but it'll be very interesting because the Oil and Gas Association is having a candidate forum that at the exact same time that these votes are being tabulated. So you're going to have former Governor Sarah Palin, Mary Patola, and Nick Begich all sitting on a panel discussing why they're better than each other, and they're going to get the results as that's happening. So it'll make for an interesting and awkward moment when one person realizes they've won, probably, and the other two realizes they haven't. So, sure. But thank you, Representative Vance, for coming on the Must Read Alaska show. And for folks interested that live in the Homer area, I really want to encourage you to get plugged into Representative Vance's campaign, and stop by her office. I'm sure you guys have a local office there in Homer. Where's it located for your legislative stuff? For the legislature, we're right downtown on the corner of Pioneer and Bartlett. And I do have a staffer working there that can help you with whatever you need. Awesome. So stop on down to the office, and, anything, constituent related, I'm sure that office would love to help out. And so for folks interested, I'm going to have another show today. And thank you, Sarah Vance, for moving our time around, because I couldn't move the other time around. So at 9 o'clock, I'm going to have Pastor Matt from Anchorage, which is going to be very interesting. I'm excited that he's coming on the show. So tune in here in a half an hour or so. And Representative Vance, thank you so much for joining us. And until next time, from somewhere in Alaska, I'm John Quick signing off. Thanks, Sarah.